As I look to the journey of democracy that is underway in Kurdistan, something that the Greek poet Homer once said keeps returning to my mind. It is not the journey, but the destination. In 17 years since the first elected regional government of Kurdistan, those of us who believe in democracy have mapped out our journey and know the destination that we want to head. The path has been bumpy at times, very bumpy. At some times, the route has been obscured. On occasions, the journey has faced roadblocks, some of the roadblocks that we have placed for ourselves. But each day, each week, and each month, our journey moves forward towards that destination of democracy. That, to me, is key. Knowing where we want to go, where we insist we must go, and persevering and pursuing that destination. The July election is just the latest ingredient of this fervent desire for democracy in our region. Peace, opportunity, and prosperity must come to Iraq and the Kurdistan region. Decades of oppression and persecution, years of calculated destruction of our homes and genocide of our people, a civil war, all have steeled us with the resolve to ensure a better life for our children, our grandchildren, and our homeland. This journey to democracy is not in a vacuum. It is shaped by the tragedies of the past, the opportunities of the present, and the aspirations of the future. That is why the world saw so much excitement and passion in the weeks leading up to our elections. And that is why we saw such a large turnout for the vote. The people of Iraqi Kurdistan are committed to their vision for the future. We have only had 17 years in order to build the foundations of a democratic society. We all know that we have much to do, and there are many changes to come. But just as we have made important progress already, so will we continue to make progress in the future. We also want to see what we have started to blossom throughout the rest of the country. The delivery of services, transparency of government, and concerns over possible corruption were much talked about issues in the campaigns and rallies, and the votes cast at the ballot boxes sent us a clear message that it cannot be business as usual in our approach to tackle these important concerns. July also was a month where the Kurdistan regional government took another major step to ensuring it can effectively deliver better governance. We made a good governance initiative a priority. To that end, we teamed up with world-renowned consultants, PricewaterhouseCoopers, to help us review our current conditions, review the way that our government works, and all other governance-related issues, and help us develop a clear-eyed, blunt critique and action plan to address the crucial issues of governance, anti-corruption, and transparency. We know corruption and its allies are dangerous enemies of democracy, because they eat at much of what we in the KRG and those living in Iraqi Kurdistan desire. They make the public cautious about believing in democracy. Corruption and its allies can be an acid that disintegrates democratic progress, and we will not let that happen. Good governance is a major pillar to securing our democracy. We are confident that the strategy outlined by our government will help us tackle this vital issue. This multi-year endeavor will ultimately improve how our government serves its people. Compliant with the United Nations Conventions Against Corruption, the KRG Good Governance and Transparency Initiative represents a very bold step. We've made our region safe and secure. We've overcome our internal conflicts. We've established a system to provide improved services for our citizens. Now we're moving to guarantee that all of this progress is maintained and built upon. The benefits of this strategy are clear and vital for our future. It will help to ensure that public funds are used properly and make government more effective and more efficient. It will improve the delivery of services to the people of the Kurdistan region, and it will help improve international and domestic confidence and increase investment and job development, while helping to raise the living standards of our people. This strategy is based upon 4 principles. 1, adherence to the rule of law, to ensure that no one in the government, regardless of position, is above the law. 2, that every KRG official is accountable to act in the interests of the government and its citizens, and will promote those interests above their own, their family, or their political party. The 3rd element is the transparent government promotes Kurdistan to provide citizens with access to information on the operations of the government, which is indispensable to ensuring that KRG officials remain accountable to voters. The 4th is that public funds must always be used for their intended purpose. The KRG's Good Governance and Transparency Initiative represents tangible evidence that we are not only aware of our shortcomings, but that we are actually doing something about them. While we work to address these shortcomings, it is imperative that we should not lose sight of how much progress has been made in a remarkably short yet tumultuous period of time. We understand that democracy is an evolutionary process, both in Iraq and elsewhere. A young America saw political turmoil through trial and error. Only after a few years of uncertainty and eventual stability and a decreased threat from the outside did the United States leaders produce the Constitution of the United States, a document whose noble ideals have been embraced for centuries by freedom-seeking people from around the world. Democracy takes time, and the US is more aware of this fact than anyone else. In 1963, when Dr. Martin Luther King gave his I Have a Dream speech, African Americans were barely able to vote in many parts of this country. Now, 45 years since the passage of the '64 Civil Rights Act and 44 years since enactment of the Voter Rights Act, Americans have elected an African American president. We say this is a huge step for democracy here. It took time, a long way since 1787, but it finally happened. People are eager to declare that Iraqi Kurdistan has faltered in its journey to build a democracy, that we deserve scorn because we are not perfect after 17 years. That is nonsense. One cannot create a perfect democracy overnight or even in 17 years. And if there is such a formula, then please somebody share it with us. When Saddam Hussein's tyranny was finally removed from Iraq, we had to start governing as best we could. We had to pick up the priorities. We had to pick what had to be done first, bide our time until some other important issues could be addressed properly, not with haste, just so we can say we did it, but to do it with substance and long-term stability. In 2006, when the KRG unity government was formed, we knew our priorities at that point: stabilize the region, increase our security and counterterrorism capabilities to prevent the insurgency that was tearing apart much of other parts of Iraq from inflicting its destruction on Kurdistan, create a safe haven for all Iraqis fleeing the violence, and to do it in a way that all were taken care of as best as possible. That has happened. Without security and safety, nothing else can progress with certainty. So now other priorities can be pursued, with good governance and performing essential services at top of that list. Some have chosen to question our delivery of services, noting that it is often below standards and needs improving. We know that, when we were just reminded of that by our voters. Decades of devastation, neglect by former regime, UN, Iraqi and regional sanctions, and our own mismanagement did not give us a level playing field to start with. That is why we began to act long before the outside world wagged its fingers at us. As you all know, large-scale power generation, water delivery progress cannot be bought off the shelf. We have been working for several years to implement effective power and water distribution projects in key cities. In 2008, the KRG had to deal with 2 failing hydroelectric dams, with the result that the government-generated electricity fell to only 3 hours a day in our region. Of course, we found that unacceptable. Today, our energy projects are nearing completion. We now will have more than 18 hours of power in the major cities in the region. We know that there are 24 hours in a day, but 18 hours is also a lot better than 3. It's a journey. Likewise, the recent completion of large-scale water projects in Slemania complemented a similar project completed in 2008 in Erbil. These projects will combine with existing systems to provide clean water to much of Erbil, Duhok and Slemania provinces. So that is also getting better. There are significant accomplishments that have been accomplished by the Kurdistan regional government and Kurdistan's developing private sector as the fundamental critical issues that need to be addressed so that those living in our region have the basic needs to start each day with hope and freedom from want. Providing such services is not only part of good governance. While it is going on, we have also taken determined steps to strengthen the judiciary and the rule of law, another vital element to build a strong democracy. In 2008, the judiciary was separated from the rest of the government to create an independent judiciary in Iraqi Kurdistan. That judiciary is now learning how to stand on its own feet, be objective, and to uphold the rule of law. We did this on our own. We knew it was the right thing to do. We took these initiatives because this is what being a democracy entails. And these are not the only priorities being pursued. A new press freedom law was passed, religious freedom has been strengthened, healthcare, infrastructure, education reforms are being addressed, and many other issues, but I can talk of those of another day.